What's up, guys? Thank you so much for tuning in to the Prompt Us podcast. My name is Gabriel, and I'm so excited to learn with you guys and grow with you guys today. I am joined with my co-hosts, Chad and Zach. And I think Chad has the prompt for us today.
I do have the prompt. I have the prompt per the norm. The topic for today is, how do you create a healthy work-life balance? Creating a healthy work-life balance, boys. I think we all have had a lot of L's in this area, and we've also had a lot of wins in this area. I'm going to kick it to Zach and just put him in the hot seat. Zach, what do you got for us today, boy?
Oh, baby.
Well, dude, when I was thinking about this prompt, I was thinking about there's two aspects, at least for me, right? There's an emotional part of work-life balance, and then there's a system part. And the system part kicks in when I'm too emotional, right?
So that's smart.
When I'm overwhelmed, I need that system to kick in. So should we dive into some systems that I'm using right now? Let's get practical.
I think we should, yes, but I think we should first explain those two a little more in depth as far as so there's the work-life balance. I think the first step of it becoming an overwhelming situation causes the emotional part.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then a way to combat the emotional part and being overwhelmed is developing the system.
All right.
So you just created a system for us so we didn't get overwelled and we could approaching
this podcast.
Very nice.
That's good. That's good.
Thanks for tuning in to our podcast. We love you. We'll be talking to you another day.
We learned a lot today. Bye.
So I think maybe a good place to start is where have we each experienced a place where we were just overwhelmed and I guess defeated? Because I know I have, but do you boys have anything like that?
Yeah, Zach, you want to take that one?
Yeah, man. Do you know what? Let's just be fully transparent. When the podcast launched,
let's go.
And this is probably just cool for people to hear.
Yeah.
The few weeks before the launch, we had to get all these they're called assets. We're gonna dive in. We're getting real BTS to the podcast right now, but there's assets that need to go out to radio stations that go onto Spotify, and there's it ended up being 15 different assets. And because we're not in the same space, and because we're socially distancing thousands of kilometers from each other right now,
kilometers.
We couldn't.
What's that?
It was really hard to record these 50. Wait, what was that?
He said kilometers. What's that?
What's a kilometer? I'm kidding.
Stupid Americans, am I right? Oh my gosh.
Dude, someone put the conversion on. Oh, yeah. But because we were so far apart, it felt so much harder to make a 15-second ad.
Mm-hmm.
And there was just a few days where I was like, I know it's so worth it. The podcast is going to be great. It's going to pay off. But right now, I know on my to-do list is 15 different bits of advertisements that we haven't recorded yet. I don't know how to record it. And I know Chad was in the deep there with me as well, trying to work out, hey, what are we going to get Gabe to say? What are we all going to say around what Gabe's saying? It was a bit of a full on time, but we made it.
I'm not sure if you all have listened to our intro. It's not episode 1, but we have an intro to the podcast, right? Where
the trailer.
It's a trailer. Yeah. And that was recorded in 3 different cities at 3 different times. And Zach was able to make that sound like we were all in the same room together, which is crazy.
It was a really big week, but when the podcast launched, it was so worth it. But I just wanted to be real honest and talk about a time that's recently. It was just a lot of late nights, and shout out to my wife Chelsea for just holding it down and being it's worth it. And not that I wanted to give up, because obviously I believed in what we were doing, but I think that I really had to get good at a system for the podcast that didn't exist, right? So I got very emotionally overwhelmed.
Well, that along with week 1 of the podcast. Week 1 of the podcast was we were scrambling. We were we know what we want, but how do we get what we want?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We were we know we want the podcast to go live on Monday on all the streaming platforms. We know we want the video version to be live on YouTube on Tuesday morning. And then we know we want to be posting all these shorter form bits of content from the podcast throughout the rest of the week on Instagram, on YouTube, on TikTok, on all the platforms. And we had to cover our bases with all these things. But we're sitting there and we're okay, how is the footage being transferred from where we are to Zach? He's cutting them together. It has to go to Chad because Chad's cutting down to the shorter form content. And we had to develop a system for that. And it was emotional because it was overwhelming.
Yeah.
And now we're, what are we at? Week, I don't even know.
I don't even know.
A month and a half, 2 months in or something like that.
Something like that.
And just the learning process from the first week to the second, literally the first week to the second week to the third week was night and day, because we were just solidifying What didn't work in week 1, we changed in week 2. And what worked in week 1, we kept in week 2. What didn't work in week 2, we changed in week 3. And what worked, we kept. You know, and it's a continual refining process. And then that goes down the line into refining those systems and just having this like order to things, to being able to hire people and train people and merge them into that system. But I'm getting ahead of myself there because
you're totally fine. I think something that was really fun for us to do was to learn who's wearing what hat, you know, because we all three wear different hats.
And who's wearing the pants.
Right. Right.
I mean,
and are they wearing
pants,
underwear?
Right? You guys wearing pants right now?
Wait,
we're
are we supposed
all
to wear
recording
pants?
in our underwear right now.
So I know that we kind of poke fun of each other for all this stuff, and I think it's hilarious. So I'm going to give the audience a little insight to it. So we have like different kind of nicknames for different roles we wear, where Gabe is the person that we call who has the resources. I guess Gabe would be the mascot, the face of the podcast, for good reason. You know, a handsome face, might I say.
I'll take
okay?
it. Okay.
Zach.
If you're giving compliments, I'll take them.
Zach is the ultimate hustler. Like Zach he can literally.
We talked about it last podcast.
Yeah.
He's writing a book.
And we're going to write the foreword.
Called The Master of the Side Hustle.
It's like Zach can literally do anything.
Do it.
If there's something that we need done, he can do it. And I think I'm like the hype man, where I'm just like, I'm here. You know what I mean? Like I'm here to make sure that, because Gabe has like 15 different projects going on right now. I'm making sure he feels excited about the podcast. And with Zach basically doing 90% of the work, I'm like making sure he doesn't feel overwhelmed.
That's not true.
And so like I look at it as like, think of like a boxing match. Gabe is like the actual boxer. Zach is like the coach who's training the boxer. And I'm the announcer. Are you ready to podcast? Like, it's like, that's me. But I accept that.
Oh my
You know,
gosh,
and I'm here
dude,
for that.
This is the funniest thing
Anyway,
ever.
all right, let's get back on track.
We totally did not even need to talk about this at all.
Oh.
I like the insight though.
Yeah.
It's good though.
It is funny. Okay, so getting back on track to feeling overwhelmed with work. My wife and I have been feeling really overwhelmed lately.
Yeah, you guys really like are piling on the.
I got hit with that Elon Musk quote recently.
Oh no.
Where, I mean, gosh, I love Elon, but sometimes following him really makes you feel convicted about life sometimes. And you're just like, dang, I need to change all these things, but maybe they're not the healthiest changes. So,
bro, that's how I felt with following a lot of these people who are trying to really push that like hustle mentality of you have this much time in a day. If you're not utilizing it all for work, you're not getting ahead. And that's what drove me into such like a rut. And I think that's why developing systems, not just like work systems, but like you can call it rhythms of life. You know what I mean? Developing those rhythms through your week that help you balance it out. So like your work is your work and you do that well and you do that at the allotted times that it's right to work.
yeah.
And then you have your other time to spend with family and to spend with friends and building relationships and community and doing all the personal things outside of work. Because if your life is just there to do work, what is it actually for? Like your work needs to be there to benefit your life, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's important to recognize that we're human beings, not human doings, you know? So we were created to be into Christ, not to do into Christ. And so
what a line, quote it.
I'm just saying.
Quote it, dude.
I think that if we're going to get real on this topic, instead of just giving actual from the fax machine on creating systems and when we feel overwhelmed.
Can I tell you something real quick?
What's up?
Jess and I were talking about you and Tori the other day.
Oh gosh.
And we were like still in awe of how many one-liners and quotes both of you know. We literally, Jess put it perfectly. She said, I swear every sermon that they've ever listened to, there's one line from every sermon they've ever listened to ever that they just have memorized, and it's in the back of
their back of our brain.
Of your brain, just like ready to pull out whenever. And a random quote, we're human beings, not human doings. I'm like, where did this come from, Chad?
Well, and I will say this, we really, a lot of our heart for what we share is to take really profound thoughts and make it digestible for our audience, because we will go find the Tim Kellers or the Francis Chans or the whoever else who's teaching on really deep topics. And we're like, wow, this is so great. Let's make sure that a younger audience is getting exposed to this too. You know? And so that's a lot of our heart. So we'll go listen to 10 sermons a week, and we're just soak it all in, because, you know, obviously you can't.
Bro, you listen to 10 sermons a week.
I do on the treadmill. I get on the treadmill and just start blasting sermons.
That's lit.
Pretty soon I'm like running 15 miles per hour, or what is that, 20 kilometers per hour?
Sorry. Dude, you're convicting people to not listen to our podcast at the gym anymore. They're going to start listening to sermons instead.
Wait. So this could, with how deep I'm about to go, we could fall into the sermon category. Anyways, so Tori and I recently have been struggling a lot with work-life balance. And this is something that as a married couple, when you live together and you work together, and I think both you boys know that grind, right? Both of you guys are in the same boat, right? It's a nice boat. We're like, we love this boat.
It's a good
but
boat.
sometimes the
good boat to be in.
Yeah,
it's rocking a little bit sometimes.
And so I love it because sometimes I love and hate it, because sometimes if I just got what you said. Wow.
Zach like laughed.
Wow.
We just like winked at each other. It was like real subtle. Like,
my gosh. You boys.
You like that though. I'm trying to come up with little quotes. Dude, we're going so off topic here. You go with what you were saying.
Yeah.
Sorry, my bad.
So before I get back on topic, let's just take a break for this ad.
It's so good.
Perfect. Literally the perfect time, bro. I
know that whenever we are overwhelmed with work, one of our first responses is to work harder. Like that's natural, right? A plus B equals C. There's a rhythm to it. It makes sense that, I feel like I have a lot of work to do right now. Let me work harder. And one of the things that we have learned personally and spiritually is that we actually need to not work harder. We need to take a break and rest, because if you start working harder, you're going to set yourself up for a whole slew of issues. Whether it's burnout, which we talked about on a podcast, or you're going to go down that rabbit hole of feeling overwhelmed, and it's going to take you to a place where it could lead to a deep depression. And so for us, we have to take a step back and realize, wow, we were not just created to work. We were created to be. And so that's something that we really wanted to just like take advantage of. And so once we were able to take a step back, we realized like, oh, wow, we are creative people. Oh, wow, we do have these fun ideas. And then how can we build these ideas with other people? But because if you're standing too close to the trees, sometimes if you're standing too close to the trees, that you miss the forest. You know what I mean? And
Bro,
so
I was waiting for it.
Yeah.
I was waiting for the line.
And so we had to take a step back to be able to see what it is that's actually happening, to see the purpose, to see the why of what we're trying to do. And now we're like, okay, now that we see the why, let's try to figure out a way to actually execute on this idea.
And you have to be really, to your point with what you were saying, I think you have to be really aware of the results that are coming from what you're doing. So like the natural reaction to when you're overwhelmed with work is to work more, work longer, work harder. But that's like why are you overwhelmed with work? Because you were working and your work was working. So more work came. So then you kept working harder at that. And like you working more was bringing more work. So there's like a different approach you have to kind of have to it. It's like now you have to bring on teams and restructure and rest and do other things to kind of contain this, I don't know. I'm like picturing right now this like, I guess explosion
like
of
machine,
sorts.
right?
Yeah. Or like a machine.
Stress.
Yeah. Like an engine, right? That's like going and it's just going and it can become faster and harder and stronger. And then all of a sudden it's like getting out of control and there's pins flying loose and stuff because it's not like taking a break. It's not stopping. It's not slowing down and it's not being utilized for the long haul.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's like if you're driving down the road and your engine's kind of starting to mess up and you're like, oh, wow, I don't think I'm going to get to my appointment on time. I need to slam on the gas. No, said no one ever.
Yeah.
If your car's starting to overheat, you don't just slam on the gas to like, okay, let me just try to get there and I'll figure it out when I get there. No, you pull off the side of the road and you assess the problem. And so I think that a lot of the things that we don't have are boundaries inside of our work, right? Where something that you and Jess have really encouraged us in. And Zach, I would love to hear, after I say this, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on it. But Tori and I actually practice Sabbath now. Because whenever we really learned that, wow, like we weren't made for the Sabbath, but the Sabbath was made for us.
Yeah, it's literally a gift from God.
It's a gift.
Like, I made this for you. I made this for you.
Where's that from?
What is that from again?
What
is that from again?
A glass of milk. I
Oh,
want a glass of milk, please.
get the guy a glass of milk. Oh my gosh. Okay. Anyway,
Julian something. Anyway, yeah.
So Zach, I wanted to get your thoughts because I don't know, because I feel like you're always operating in the future of us. Like I always ask you what the weather's like in the future because you're a day ahead of us. But you know, for Tori and I, we now Saturdays are just like, no, we don't work.
yeah.
And that has given us such a great reward because we no longer are feeling that insane, overwhelming feeling because we have 6 days to conquer everything we want to conquer. And then the 7th day, we relax, we rest in it because we know that there's so much more to life than work.
Yeah, dude, Jess and I we look forward so much to Saturdays. And sometimes we do have to work on Saturdays, and that's okay. But then we'll shift, like Sabbath. We're not made for the Sabbath. Like Saturday, we have to do it on Saturday. Sabbath was made for us, and we utilize that in different ways. Like, okay, I guess we'll take Sunday off instead because Saturday something came up where we kind of have to get something done. Whatever it is, there's like you're using it in a way that is beneficial to your life. You're using that gift in the right way, rather than feeling like you are subject to the rule of this idea or concept that you're, putting like into your life.
Yeah, right. Well, I like that you said that because I flippin' love it. But sometimes when I'm serving at church on a Sunday, it's not a day off. It's not a rest day, you know? And I love serving at church. I love playing piano. I love playing guitar, whatever it is. But it fully isn't the rest that I know God is providing me and that I need to have. So I need to go, I need another day to actually go, this is the Sabbath. And if it's not a day, and I like that you guys mentioned it as well, it's an evening or it's 2 evenings, or just really making sure that when Chelsea comes home from work, I'm not like, every night I got to keep working. It's like, no, I need to stop. And it's okay to be a potato for a few hours and just enjoy time with my wife, and rest. And I'm not good at that. Like, it's been really a long journey to get good at that, especially these last few weeks. There's going to be seasons of life where you don't have it. But the worst thing ever is never going back to it. If you're going to spend 2 weeks, hey, this is 2 weeks of a hustle. The podcast is coming out this week. I want to crush it with my boys. I'm not going to have a full day this week. It's like, that's okay. But your awareness of that means that you need to be responsible and take a day or take 2 days now. You really have to, it compounds really quickly when you stop taking rest. And that's, I don't know how to nail that yet. I'm still learning that. But yeah, I've just noticed the difference in my mental health. Even Chad called me out on this in a great way. Chad called me out on this the other day. I was like, hey man, and I said to Chad, I was being open. I was like, I'm overwhelmed by the podcast. I should be really enjoying it, but right now I'm feeling like it's more of a grind than an honor. Do you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, I'm getting anxious about this thing. And Chad's like, have you just like stopped and had God time today? And it's like 5:30 in the morning.
It's almost like resetting your phone.
What an answer,
Have you tried
bro.
resetting your phone yet?
He's like, I get what you're saying, but have you stopped and talked to the Lord about this?
It's the ultimate cop out.
But it's, yeah, legit. But it's crazy. Like now every morning, and you know what? To be completely transparent, because we're filming the podcast this morning, I haven't done it yet. And so I'm like, it's on my heart to do it straight after we've done recording, have lunch, read my Bible, and just chill. Yeah. And
I mean, to be fair, you're waking up. Yeah. To be fair, you're waking up at like 5 a.m. to record this. So we're on the same. And then Chad and I are staying up till like 10 recording these things.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So.
And that's where I think what you said, Gabe, is really important. And I don't want it to go understated, is that it's okay that you don't have that Sunday every week locked in. I think we all dream of that day, right? But I also think that's not an excuse not to rest. Where, I don't get a full day on a Sunday, so I'm just going to keep working. It's like, no, you're going to burn out way quicker than you think. You need to stop.
Yeah.
100%, dude. And I think that the topic of rest is so interesting too, because what was it called? The year in the Bible where is the year, like the 7th year, they didn't work for a whole year. Like
it's not the year of Jubilee, is it? What is the year of Jubilee?
Dude, I forget.
I think that's when there's like blessings on blessings on blessings, right? That's like 77. I don't know.
Blessings. but legit, like there was a year every 7 years where they let the land rest. They didn't farm.
Yeah.
They rested.
It's the year of Jubilee.
Zach with the Google search. Let's go.
I love it.
Of course, Chad's the one who knew it too.
I Googled in my head. It's in that file cabinet with all these.
But legit, when I was at the mastermind group that I was at recently, there was one guy who was talking about the big transition in his life and coming off of a show that he was working on and trying to figure out the best thing to do for his family. And he was feeling like overwhelmed with the pressure about it. And they had been working like so hard for so long. And the advice that a lot of the guys gave him was, yo, take some time and rest, like months. If you can afford to
do that,
do the 3 months or 6 months or something, take that time. And then they were basically like, God will give you that time of rest, give you clarity, put things on your heart. Dude, the same thing happened with me when after I burnt out and I went through depression the first time, I had to stop. And it wasn't this realization of like, God wants me to stop. This is the right thing to do. I need to rest. It was literally like I hit a wall and I had no other choice.
Yeah.
You know? And I stopped for a few months. And in that period of time, it wasn't like a set thing. Like I didn't have a day where it was like, okay, this day I'm going to start working again. Just in that period of rest over those few months, I slowly just went back to the things that I felt God was calling me to, rather than the things I felt like I should do.
Yeah.
You know? And the rest was just so important in that period of time.
I think what I'm hearing you boys say is that you really have to value yourself, and you have to value yourself for above your work, right? You have to esteem yourself above work, because again, if you're only known for what you do, then that's the only thing you're going to value yourself in. But like, I'm sure you boys have both read this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
So I'm going to relate that to
Robert
here,
Kiyosaki,
right?
dude.
And so basically,
What a G.
There's this lesson in the book called Pay Yourself First. And his whole idea is that whose happiness matters more, your happiness or your bill collector's happiness? Because what people do is when they get paid, they pay rent or their mortgage, they pay their car payments, they pay insurances, they pay groceries, they pay utilities. Then with what's left over, they either have fun with, or they save it, or they invest it, right? He's like, well, that's totally wrong. He said, you need to write yourself a bill the first of each month for whatever it is you want to do. Whether it's a vacation, whether it's, oh, I want to take a month off, or whether it's, oh, I want a new car, whatever it is, you need to pay yourself first, because your happiness matters more. And then what happens is as you use that money for that month, you either, if you don't have enough money to pay the rest of the bills, you either A, start cutting fat, you cancel your Netflixes, you save money on your water bill, whatever, or you find a way to make more money. But I look at that from a personal level. Each morning, I do exactly what I want to do. I pay myself first. And so I don't really risk getting overwhelmed if I've already done what I wanted to do first, because I value myself above my work. I value my mental health above my work. I value like my happiness above my work.
So you're saying instead of going straight to work as soon as you wake up, going straight to your phone, going straight to whatever it is, your emails,
go to God, go to tennis.
You exercise, you get to read.
Yeah,
spend time with the Lord. Yeah, that's great, dude.
Because if you continually push off the things that really actually do feed you and fuel you, you're just gonna keep leaving yourself hanging. And I mean, and for me, once you're married, it takes on a whole nother level. Right? Where I really, oh man, I don't want to get emotional. I really
get emotional.
I heard, Gabe's like, fuse. Do it.
You won't.
I'm going to get emotional after this break.
The timing is perfect, dude.
This came out in a YouTube video, right? Where Tori and I were recording a video and a topic came up and I didn't realize how heavy it was, but I'll just give you the short story. I'll give you boys a short story, is that I was downstairs working on stuff and Tori was having a kind of a bad day, and I got a letter from the IRS and I was nervous, and Tori asked me for a hug and I said, yeah, I'll give you a hug. I just got to read this letter, you know? And I didn't think anything of it. And, Lord, I was upstairs and I was filming a video, and the question that someone asked us was, what's something that you wish you knew before marriage? And I answered that question that I wish someone would have told me to not put work above my wife. And I just broke down. I was like, I can't believe I did that to her. I can't believe I valued her less than my work.
Wow, dude.
And it broke my heart. It like literally, I can't believe I'm visualizing her face, and I just see me grab a letter over grabbing her. And I can't believe I did that. And I apologized, and she received my apology, and everything's fine and dandy, right?
Yeah.
But it hurt me. And so I think that on the emotional side, what Zach was getting at is like before systems is that
they're making us cry on these podcasts, dude.
We have to not only value. Gabe just leaves.
It's like, yeah, I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm done crying.
We we not only have to value ourselves above our work,
Mm-hmm.
but we also have to value our loved ones above our work. And
Wow.
whenever we put work in its right place, which is work,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's work. That's all it is. It helps us have a disconnection from it where we can create systems to help us maintain work and healthy relationships.
Dude, I love that. And that's I think that's a very deep understanding of like, okay, why, like, what is the separation and the meaning between each thing? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like putting things in their proper place, being like, okay, this is, and kind of calling them by what they are. Like work is work and this is the purpose it serves.
Mm-hmm.
This is me and this is the
that's
importance behind it. This is my family.
Yeah.
And this is the importance behind them, and kind of like putting those in the right categories. Now, how do we structure those to best benefit the whole thing?
Yeah.
And I think that's a good segue to go into the very like practical element, especially for a lot of you guys who, well, I mean, it really is for everyone can take tips on this, like building habits and rhythms through your week that best benefit everything, really. Yeah. I'm trying to find one word for it, but like your family, your mental health, your work life, all of it, just family stability and stuff like that. So I'm just gonna start with explaining the way Jess and I structure our week. And there's nothing like really fancy to it. We're just adding, the way we've developed this is like adding one thing at a time. And if it works, keeping it. And if it doesn't work, taking it away, then adding another thing. Similar to how we developed the podcast. Like, keep what works, get rid of, sorry, I had to burp there for a second. Keep what works and get rid of what doesn't. You know what I mean? So I guess you could say we start our week or whatever. Our rest day is Saturday, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Saturday is when we're rejuvenating, recuperating, getting rest in. Then it moves into Sunday. Sunday, we have church in the morning. And then from there, we usually go from church to a restaurant with our laptops. And we have what we call a family team meeting. And Jess and I sit down, our FTM.
A hall.
Yeah. And once kids come into the picture, they will be a part of it too. Obviously, once they can, contribute to that sort of conversation. They're like 2 years old. And you're like, repeat the whole schedule back to me. But so we have an FTM, our family team meeting, and that usually lasts between an hour and a half to 2 hours. And we first start with an emotional check-in.
Oh, wow.
Where
I'm about to take notes.
Taking notes. So we start with an emotional check-in, and we kind of just talk about what emotional things we want to kind of vent from the previous week. And it's a really good way for us to stay aligned and stay on the same page and just really reconnect emotionally. And she can tell me if there's anything that bothered her that I did, if there's something she's working on and going through, I can do the same back to her. And it's just and that's usually, that could be the first like 5 to 10 minutes if there's not a whole lot to talk about and nothing like new and exciting emotionally has happened in that past week. And then sometimes that conversation can last like 30, 45 minutes of just like completely checking in with each other and making sure that we're both on the same page. Then we move into, now that we're aligned emotionally, we move into structuring our week and kind of plan out our whole week. So the two things that we do there is we give, which is obviously going to be different for everyone, but we kind of get our list together for what we need our assistant to do. Well, first we like schedule our week and kind of put our to-do list together and what we're trying to do, come up with our YouTube video idea for that week, whatever, those types of things that we need to get done. And personally as well. What double dates are we going on this week? I don't know. Am I getting coffee with someone? Just making sure everything is on the schedule and we're both on the same page about it, because then we're not throwing each other off. I know what she's doing. It's in the calendar. I know what I'm doing. She knows what I'm doing. It's in the calendar and we're both aware of it. Then we look at the calendar again and we put together a list for our assistant and go, okay, what workload can she take off of us? Yeah. And then we create a list for our assistant. And then that leads us. Then we basically start approaching like that. That usually ends probably by like 2, like 12 to 2 or like 1 to 3. We usually have that. And then by the end of the last half of the day in the evening, afternoon, evening, we kind of get to smaller work things if we need to. Sometimes we will take that time off if we don't have a heavy load, but we'll, it could be Jess needs to edit a little bit of video, so a little bit of a video, so she sits down and does that, or I don't know, I need to organize some stuff in my office or whatever it is. So that's Sunday afternoon. Then we get into the week, and at 9 a.m. we start with our Monday meeting, which is with our assistant, where we unload what the whole week looks like with her and give her her whole strategy and to-do list for the week and all the things that she needs to be getting done and helping us with, and kind of going through our whole week and what that looks like. So the whole entire team is on the same page.
Yeah. And
then from there, it really, then from there, every week kind of looks different, but it is, Tuesday, I like the things that are mostly solid are like Tuesdays are Jess and I's vlog day. So we know that on Tuesdays, that's when we're filming our video. Thursdays for me, and a lot of this was developed out of an ideal week, creating an ideal week, which I'll get to in a second. But Thursdays are now like my meeting day, because a lot of the other days I need to focus on creative stuff. Or if I have meetings spread throughout the week and like random phone calls and stuff like that, I'm actually going to get nothing creative done, because when I'm working on and Zach, like if you're writing a song or working on an edit, the phone or any sort of call or any sort of meeting will distract you like nobody's business. And even if you have the same amount of time, 3 hours in one chunk where you're just attacking that one project versus 3 hours split up through like 4 or 5 different chunks of time split up by calls and stuff is so much less efficient. And so what I've done is I try and stack all my phone calls and meetings and everything on Thursdays. And that is on that. And my assistant knows she has free reign. If there's an open window on Thursday to schedule something in on the calendar, she can put it in without asking me. Yeah. She knows that day is there to stack all that in. So going back to what I talked about with the ideal week, this sort of thing has been scheduled out on, I was given the advice of create what I want my week to look like. And then try and adapt your week to what you think you want your week to look, what you want your week to look like. And then from there, keep what works and change what doesn't. So my ideal week in that little system, I think I found a really good groove for now, but it's always changing. And I've developed this week multiple times, just changing it and developing it. And I mean, another practical thing is every morning, 10 a.m., I have emails and updates, and I have that with my assistant. So at 10 a.m., I have emails and updates where we sit down. She unloads me. She has all my email accounts, and she kind of unloads all the information, all the emails, what I need to do. I respond to people all within that like 30 minutes to an hour time block. I get back to everyone. That's what I do. Then I don't worry about emails for the rest of the day.
That's good.
Wow. I don't, because the emails are my worst enemy and distract me from what I'm trying to do. So I try not to touch emails after that. But if there's something really important, Victoria knows that she can come to me or call me and say, like, hey, this is urgent. You need to get to this. Yeah. But I don't have to go on my emails and look at anything. And no, I know this is like, it's going to be so different for everyone, but the idea is there, I think, with like developing something, especially if you're married and you have a family, to being on the same page with, even if you don't work together, just being on the same page. Your family is a team, and you need to be organized to attack life correctly and attack life together, arm in arm, not completely separated on different ideas of what you think your life is going to look like and your schedule is going to look like. So that's where I'm going to wrap that up, because I just kind of like talked for an hour and a half.
It makes me feel like your main goal is to happen to life versus letting life happen to you. Yeah. Right. That's what it's kind of comes down to.
Exactly.
But Zach, practically, what about you?
Well, I was just going to say, like, I'm listening to Gabe, like, taking notes.
I saw him take notes. Like, I was watching him the entire time. Yeah.
Dude, yeah. And I'm like, this is good, because a lot of the things that you're talking about, Gabe, I also do. And I wanted to, you mentioned before, you were like, it's going to be different for everyone. So I'm like, here's my version of that for me, with the intention that one day I'll have someone help and a team to be able to back me up, right?
Dude, I love it. Let's go.
So, dude, for emails, man, because that's the last one you spoke about, and that's the one that I was like, oh, let's go. For emails,
his eyes got huge.
Best thing I did, dude, it gets me so jacked. But the best thing I did was literally delete everything.
Wait.
I deleted all my emails, except for the ones I know I needed to keep, and I put them in folders.
Oh,
so
organizing
all my
emails.
I'm back at 0, right?
Oh, that's so nice.
Wow.
And then I made different folders. So I have a prompt us folder for all our prompt us emails. I have all my music stuff goes into one. I have a one for church, literally just for church announcements that I don't want to miss. I put that into its own folder.
Wow.
And what that's done for me is when I get one email, I don't log into my emails and see thousands and go, holy heck, I'm never going to complete this. It's the best feeling to have let me bring it up. I reckon I've got no emails in my thing. Oh no, I've got 2.
I'm about to email him right now.
It's like, you got another one from Chad that says, edit this podcast after we're done.
Hey, cutie.
Yeah, legit. Just a reminder. But it's the best feeling to do that. So one day when I have someone to back me up and to help me do that, their job's going to be even easier because there's even less.
Dude, and that's exactly what we were talking about with
right?
the podcast. That's exactly what we were talking about with the podcast, is developing these systems. So once we know, we have the checklist written out on a document that we all can see of all the content that we need to get and what content breaks down from one video.
That's right.
What are the clips going to be on YouTube? What are the reels on and TikTok's going to look like? Like, we have all those things, and how many do we need? And what kind of quote graphics are we going to use on the Instagram feed? And we have all that. We're building that out. So when we need someone to come in, whether it's a producer or an editor or some sort of like PA of some sort, we kind of have this that we can be like, this is what we built and structured.
Yeah.
Let's teach it to you. And it's a really easy teaching process.
And I think you've got to do that from the get-go. So if you're listening to this being like, well, I don't have a business and I don't like have a team, and it's like, well, that's not the point. The point is approach every task that you're doing that's taking up your time as something that maybe one day you could either get someone else to do, or you could do quicker. And when you do that, it doesn't matter how many years you have to do that task for. You've made it as easy as possible for yourself to approach during the week. And that's what I've done. And it's just changed my game because now I can do more. I can edit quicker. I can do all these things.
Dude, that's so good that you say that, because I realized there was a point where I was trying to hire people, and you have said this too, Chad, where I was trying to hire people to take the load of the things I wanted to do.
Yes.
So I could keep doing the things I thought were important that I didn't want to do. Where I was like, wait, no, I want to be editing and filming videos and creating content and working creatively on the board game that we're doing. I want to be making the music. I want to be working on the creative stuff. I need people to come in and handle the administrative stuff, some of the ops stuff, where I was thinking in reverse. And the same, and I use that not analogy because it's the truth. I use that to kind of paint the picture, because it's an easy picture to paint using that, but you can use that in life too. You know what I mean? Like what you were saying, if you don't have like this whole, I guess, this sort of like career that you're working, you know, you're kind of like self-employed or whatever it is, or you have an assistant or anything. Maybe you don't have all those things, but you can still organize and structure your life in a way so it's going to benefit you. You know what I mean?
That's right. That's good.
I am. So I guess
Dad's just watching us get so jacked on this topic.
Dude, I love it because I've actually learned a ton from both of you. Like from Gabe, I've learned a lot of like the idea and the theory of actual like
the theory.
Well, it's like the theory.
I love it, dude.
Yeah. Well, it's like for you would.
Let me teach you the theory.
No.
Real quick.
No. So I feel like you would always give the ideas. But then whenever I started working with Zach was just really, really good at executing more on my level. Because your level was just like, you know, just to give a little shout out, Gabe was like, hey, let's start a podcast. Comes up with an idea, sends it to manager, boom, 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 podcast, right? Where it's a little different for my world, okay? So Zach has kind of been there with me on the ground level as we've done some things. And I guess I can go and start wrapping all this up and put it in a bow on it, where I think what I'm trying to say is what it'll boil down to is an investment in yourself is the best investment you can make. Because for Tori and I, we realize that we need to hire help. And that can look like hiring someone to help you around the house. That can look like hiring someone for editing. That can look like hiring someone for really anything that you may need to get help, because that's not a bad thing. People see it as expenses, but for you hiring Victoria, that opens you up to do more of what you're amazing at. And same thing for Zach. And so I think that we have to see an investment in ourselves, us hiring people to help build this vision and build this dream, whatever it is you're doing, even if hiring someone to help clean up around the house once a week, if that helps you, attends your kids' ball games, or that helps you have a date night with your partner. Those are good things, because a happier you is a better you, right? And I'm not just trying to be all like, be the best you, be happy, right?
Yeah.
But it's so important to have a good attitude towards things, because when Zach was getting overwhelmed with work, he felt heavy. He felt like, he's like, honestly, man, like I can do the work, but I'm just not enjoying it. And then but when he gets to a place and a perspective where he's enjoying it, the work is so much better. But that took him having to invest himself in the first fruits of his day, which is doing his morning devotional time with God.
Dude, it's so great that you say that, because I recently went through that as well, where I found so much more joy in what I was doing when I spent time with the Lord first. I'm getting super Christian here, but I spent time with God first. And I just literally counting that day as a legit blessing. Like,
wow.
I get
That's right.
to live today and spend time with God today, this morning. And now I get to work on things that he put me here for. Like he put me here to attack the things today that I'm going to do. How dope is that? And then I just got to do them with this more of like this heart of gratitude than this heart of like, I have to get these things done today because they're on my to-do list. What a bummer. You know what I mean? As opposed to kind of having this mentality of just gratitude and approaching it from there.
You don't have to do anything. You get to do everything.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this episode of Prompt Us. And remember, you can follow us at Prompt Us Podcast on Instagram. That's our handle, at Prompt Us Podcast. And that is where you can submit prompts that will be topics that we discuss in future episodes. Appreciate you guys tons, and we'll talk again in the next one.